So the Fuel Retailers Association says the sustainability of service stations in South Africa is being hampered by decreased volumes, illegal traders and rampant inflation. In fact, over 3,000 people in the industry have been retrenched as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and fuel retailers losing about 300 million rand during the civil unrest in parts of the country in July. Let's speak to the association CEO, Reggie Sibiya, who joins us via video link in Johannesburg. Reggie, it's great to talk to you this morning on the show. It does appear that your sector is getting hammered from a whole range of angles this morning. Tell us about the difficulty many service stations are in.
Thanks, Michelle, for the opportunity. Yes, indeed, we are in the trying times as the fuel retailing sector. As you mentioned in your introduction, the main key, causes of the hardships is that the margins themselves actually have been compromised big time.
You're talking about the profit margins?
Both the operational margins and the profit margins. Mm-hmm. Now, Michelle, it's very important for people to understand that, unlike when I'm running a supermarket, my prices on a daily basis or a weekly basis, they are always linked to the cost of my sourcing the product and also the other cost inputs. When it comes to the petrol pump price, the operational costs are determined by the Minister of Minerals and Energy, and those are only reviewed once a year. So it is very, very important that those costs are actually aligned to the realities on the ground, which is not the case. Number one, most of the costs that we incur in the sector are not actually provided for in the margin. For example, your credit card costs, there's a range of compliance costs that have gone up, like the COVID-19 cost, and other costs. And the margin is not a true reflection of the actual operational cost. So there's a huge gap. In fact, in 2016, the KPMG study actually confirmed that the operational costs were being undercompensated by 12 cents back then in 2016. And this was a study that was commissioned by the department themselves, the Department of Minerals and Energy. But they did not actually implement the study. So that gap has actually now increased probably to 18 cents a liter, undercompensated, just on the operational cost. Yeah. And then the other issue with service stations is the volumes, is that it is really, you need a good site, you need a good location. So this is an equation of volumes and margin to make profit. Now, we know that the margins have actually reduced. Now, firstly, the volumes have actually reduced as well. Before COVID-19, and I always tell people that the industry has evolved from phase one, where there were very few service stations, to about phase 3 now, where we've got a number of service stations competing for the same volume, and also this illegal trading, a number of rampant, and mushrooming service operators. So that reduced the volume.
Reggie, can I come in there? So there are so many issues that you've brought up here, not least of which the pump price, which you say is fixed for 1 year, not taking into account the cost at service stations in light of COVID-19, insofar as masks are concerned, sanitizers, that's clearly also not taken into consideration. And then you talk about the number of service stations that are in a concentrated area. So should government, on the one hand, adjust the pump price? Is that what you're hoping for in light of COVID-19 and all of the additional costs that come with compliance? But is there a way also that we can stop additional service stations popping up when the existing ones are not making profit enough to maintain their staff?
Very good questions, Michelle. Yeah, firstly, let me correct. So it's not the pump. The pump price is also, determined by the minister, and that changes every month.
Right.
Rather, we're talking about actual margins. So your question is correct. The margins needs to be aligned with the KPMG study that was commissioned by the department.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't actually make any sense that the department will commission a study and that study reveal the actual cost that should be incurred, and then they don't implement it. So that's one intervention that comes from the government, that needs to come from the Department of Minerals and Energy. And FRA has actually been vocal about this implementation of this study. And secondly, your second question is also very relevant, because the regulations themselves, they actually prohibit this illegal trading. And again, what we're seeing is that it's on such a rampant scale, we are not able to control it. But again, it is actually the department working with the industry, because also the oil companies needs to come in here, because they are the ones that supply these illegal wholesalers indirectly. So we need to work together. That's why there's been this forum that we established to deal with that. But in essence, the service stations are being impacted by the volumes. They are being impacted by compromised margins, and also the overtrading that is happening, coupled with illegal trading. And people must just realize that, service stations will always exist. I say, Michelle, you can go to the poorest of the poor countries. You'll still find a service station.
Reggie,
but the question, does it really make money? No.
Yeah, absolutely. You also talked about so many people losing their jobs as a direct result of the pandemic. Some 3,000 people, a lot of money also lost to the riots in July. 300 million rand is the number I have in front of me here. I mean, does it sound like we're on track to follow the route of other countries in Europe and in the US, where the margins that you talk about are so incredibly low that we're going to be pumping our own gas?
Absolutely. Actually, if we had time, I would actually show you a graphic, but we don't, which actually says that the global retail businesses have evolved and have been managed against 4 phase framework. And we are now in phase 2 and 3. So, and the last phase is phase 4. In phase 4, there is actually very low margins. There is over trading, and as a result, retailers are not able to sustain labor costs. That's why then those markets end up going to what we call self-service. So consumers and motorists have now to start to actually pour in their own fuel. That's exactly where we're going if we do not manage the situation now. And here is the root, Michelle, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
From the motorist point of view, there is this wrong perception that when we go to deregulation, the petrol prices will go down. That is actually not true, because we are a net importer. You can go to US, France, Germany today, where there is deregulation and self-service. The consumer there is just as screaming about prices as we are in South Africa. Deregulation in those countries has not driven the prices down. They are paying just exactly the same prices. In fact, here is the point. A US consumer paying the same price as a South African consumer still needs to get out of their car, pour in their own fuel. They need to go and check in their own tire pressure. And may I add, in those countries, to check in your tire pressure, you pay an additional fee. So motorists are not aware what they are asking for here when they think that the regulation will drive prices down. That ain't going to happen. And also, when it comes to the margins, for retailers, currently, the operating margin, Michelle, is only 1.5% of the total pump price. And the net margin, profit margin, the operating margin is 7%, and the net profit margin is 1.5%. So if we say we're going to review the price by adjusting the retailer margin, we actually driving the retailing margin to a point where we will only have glorified managers operating the sites.
So, I mean, what is the Fuel Retailers Association? Very quickly, Reggie, because we are out of time. What's it asking from government in terms of support? I mean, the one issue is to actually act on those recommendations from the study that you mentioned, insofar as the profit margin is concerned.
So we're saying to the government, the Minister of Minerals and Energy in particular, let's support SMMEs in our sector. It is part of the National Development Plan by addressing the issue of margins and implementing the KPMG study. Also realizing that the volumes have dropped. Let's address the issue of proliferation of service stations and the illegal trading that is taking place. And let's save the jobs. Because if we are not going to address the issue of retrenchments, we're going to come to a point where, you know, it will not be sustainable even to sustain the labor costs.
Yeah, absolutely. Reggie Sibiya, let me thank you for your time this morning. He's with the Fuel Retailers Association. In fact, he is the CEO. Thank you very much indeed.